Cool stuff. I like chatting. Hey everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop, the podcast-ish thingy where I chat with some friends about some...
It's a podcast.
A live stream podcast thing. I should actually put it up on... I keep thinking about it, and just I've got to figure out how to, like, search specifically get the audio out very easily.
Well, you just have to record the audio separately, or have a recording for the audio going.
I think Audacity would pick up on both me and the computer.
Maybe?
I might be able to set it for that.
I do not know.
That would be very easy, then I could just record it on
I
Audacity.
think Lightning did podcast editing. You could ask him how that works.
He was saying it was difficult. So, but I mean, that might also make it sound, like, make sure the sound is very nice, which,
Yeah.
I don't know how I can guarantee that. There's only so much editing I can do that doesn't destroy my soul. But...
Fair, honestly.
Yeah.
Editing is a pain.
It was what I started with very heading editing, and it burned me out on it, and forever it's been hard to, like, get back into heavy editing, because PTSD, you know, of the old thing I was doing. But anyway, we got some stuff to talk about today. Not a lot, but interesting and nice stuff, which is, honestly, I'm very happy for this week. I'd much preferred this kind of week to any other one. After the last few. Let's just start it. Highlands, highlighting. Now, Paizo's switching over their open gaming, sale to do a bunch of Starfinder stuff, too.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things is, if you want the Starfinder Pack Worlds book, which is like their kind of campaign setting book, you can get it for free. Put the PDF in your cart, use discount code OpenGaming, and until February 18th, you can get the just book about the world setting for free. Beginner box is 25% off, same with core rulebook, both the pocket and the hardcover. And they've got probably some other stuff on sale. If you want to get into Starfinder too now, you can. It's a sale. Starfinder is basically somewhere between Pathfinder 1st Edition and 2nd Edition, but in space.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's sci-fantasy, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
It's sci-fantasy.
Yeah. My times experimenting with it were fun. I do have to run a game of Starfinder at some point in time. You know, really get into it. But that's not the only thing that's popping out here. There's also a Paizo Pathfinder. You want to try out Pathfinder Humble Bundle. I'll put these two links here. The Open Gaming link first. There's that one. So if you want to see where they talk about that and have just the information if you don't remember it. And then here is the Humble for everybody to check out. I mean, Paizo does this a bunch of times. This is not the first time they've done a Humble Bundle. This is a little bit more about, I guess, trying out 2nd Edition.
Yeah.
So it's a definite focus on stuff that would help you out there. They've got...
$5 get you the starter box, the core rule book, and the second bestiary, as well as the world guide, and then some additional things.
Yeah.
And a one-shot.
Yeah. So for $5, you get some basics. 25 gets the whole everything. 15's kind of in the middle.
Yep.
So take a look at it. Honestly, even the $5 one is not a bad one because it's beginner box, the core rule book, the bestiary, granted the Lost Roman World Guide, they're offering that. Oh no, that's the Star Pack Worlds. I'm sorry, I was thinking Starfinder for a second. The World Guide, which is also like the world thing, the Pawn Collection, character sheets, all that stuff.
For 25, you get the Abomination Vault Adventure Path.
Yeah,
with a bunch of other stuff,
which is a pretty good one. And they also offer, like, if you wanted, they have the stuff for Foundry. If you want to do the Abomination Vaults on Foundry, you can do it with this one too. So that's actually pretty good. Because, honestly, we're on a very online world, unfortunately, nowadays. So, giving all the stuff that you can run one of these adventure paths on virtual tabletop, I'm not against that either. So, but speaking of humble, just to move on, because this is just kind of like our newsy section right now, less than discussion-y. There is another one here, RPG Worlds by Kobold Press and Friends, which is another humble bundle. That's so yes.
Yeah, a bunch of RPGs. I've heard of one of them. I've heard of Castles and Crusades. It's basically old D&D.
Yeah. So it looks like it's Kobold Press, Frog God Games, Nord Games. All have put stuff here at least. Yep. Maybe some others. $5 gets you just a smattering, 8 items, $15.23, and of course 52 items for $25. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of setting books in Bestiaries.
Yeah. So honestly, this is one of those ones where I'm like, if you want some, like, just material that is, I'm assuming a lot of this is, 5e compatible.
Yeah.
This is just a great way to get a lot of things. Whether you use the settings directly or just some of the stuff from the settings, it's a lot of material, This is the kind of stuff that it also, like, I like seeing this, but it's what I've always complained about, which we're probably never going to get, was my sadness of, why doesn't Wizards just do more books? But no, because everybody else does books, and then they complain and do weird shit because everybody else is making books and they're not making books, and I just realized my complaints just circled back through this entire I'm going to say crisis, but maybe debacle. It circled back to just Wizards make more things yet again. But anyway, it's good stuff. These are good companies, all of them, Kobold Press and a lot of these other ones. So they do a good job, so you can be guaranteed that this material will be relatively well balanced. But again, look for yourself to decide whether you want to use it in your games.
It's a variety pack.
Yeah. There certainly would be stuff to help you out. So, another good... They're too busy. You're right, Linz. They're so busy making stupid plans and enacting them stupidly. God. Anyway, so yeah. Modiphius has a few things to talk about. So the game 5 Parsecs from Home gets a second expansion. The Freelancer's Handbook. So 5 Parsecs of Home, we've talked about it a few times. It's kind of like Fallout Wasteland Warfare.
Yeah.
So it's like half RPG, half war game, which I think does also go to a little bit of like... I gotta be honest, like, whenever I hear about these, it reminds me of the old Battletech. Because Battletech /Mech Warrior, you really needed, like, a big old thing kind of Warhammery to set up on to do these battles sometimes, Yeah. You really need, like, miniatures fight. This is another one where it's just relied on it. So, it just adds more, your crew species, medkits, more stuff to it. It's, it's an expansion. I don't know what else to say about an expansion other than this expansion to add more stuff if you like to play it. And it's... Yeah.
Expansions are nice.
It's true. Nice to get something that just expands a little bit upon the insanity of it all. So that's... Did I link that one? I didn't. Let me link that. Then we have this here, which is we're getting a preview of the new Fallout RPG book, which is Winter of Adam. They're talking about it a little bit here. The idea of this book is opportunities for side quest and exploration, because that's a big, I guess that's a big heavy thing in Fallout, you know.
Yes, I mean Fallout's a big role-playing game. There's lots of side quests and a big old world to explore most of the time. Some of the older games didn't really have a big world to explore due to the limitations of the 90s.
That's true. So it's interesting to see that that's one of their focuses that they kind of wanted to throw in here. So yeah, and it's more stuff. I guess it's sort of like we'll know more. This looks to be Commonwealth was Fallout 4.
Right? Is Boston.
So it looks like this is a more Boston focus.
It makes sense because that is what Bethesda mostly wants products for, is the Commonwealth era stuff, because they're not really gonna have stuff for 76, because 76 kind of flopped a little bit, and also the setting of 76 isn't particularly interesting.
Yeah.
And they're certainly not gonna set it in the West Coast, because I mean there's already a ton of information, so they're just gonna expand on Boston a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I would also like for them to do some, like, in quotations, new areas or areas that we have very little information. But
this is going to be set around dealing with the children of Adam, who are a cult that worships radiation.
So it's like materials, like a campaign set, kind of campaign you can kind of do. You know, it's the campaign that's part of it should take you from levels 1 to 21.
Yeah, which is the full game.
Yeah.
This is a full adventure.
So factions, character creation options, rules, quest information. It's like a full it's a campaign book. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to say it. It's like a full adventure.
It's a full campaign. The thing that I find the most interesting is they mention a very specific name. They message Jesse Henning, who was a designer on Fallout 1 and also designed Mage the Ascension.
Okay.
And apparently he seems to be heavily involved in this one.
That's good. I mean, that's someone that has pedigree, you know, which is good to have.
And the main writer, Jonathan Frey, did both of the current adventures for Fallout 2D20, which both are very well written.
Cool.
A Bang and Whimper is in the core rulebook, and Once Upon a Time in the Wasteland is one you can pick up on the Ruby's website.
So, something to keep an eye out on. It's like, again, big old campaigns, more information, expanding your Fallout games. Always good to have. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was something that, like, I gotta be honest, I ran into it on Modifius's website.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a campaign guide and a player's guide for a game that looked kind of interesting, just from reading about it a little bit. And here is the campaign guide, but there's a player's guide if you go to New Arrivals, you can find it. Raiders of the Serpent Sea. which is 5e compatible. So that's kind of the and it's like Modiphius does occasionally publish some things like this. So I'm guessing it's probably a more published than produced.
Yeah.
That'd be the way to say it?
Yes, this would be one of their, I think, is a published content.
Mm-hmm.
Or rather, yeah, I believe they're publishing it. So something has immediately caught my eye.
Mm-hmm.
From the lead designer of Dragon Age Origins. Now, I'm wondering which lead designer this is. Because there are 3 of them. All 3 of them do fantastic work. But if it's Mike Laidlaw, damn. This is going to be like actual gold. Because that man writes nothing but gold.
Okay.
For an example, he did Jade Empire, he did Mass Effect, he did Dragon Age Origins. Every world he does is like amazing.
I'll just see if I can notice anything.
But I don't see who specifically is the one who worked on it.
Okay.
It just says from the lead designer, and people know Mike Laidlaw as the lead designer.
In partnership with the creators of Odysseys of Dragonlords. So that I've heard about too.
I have heard about this one as well.
So 4 to 6 players on a campaign from 1 to 16. I'm gonna be honest. That's the kind of thing is, if they can get some balance on the high level 5e, I really would like to see that.
5e doesn't lose balance until around 15 and higher. So only one level at the unbalanced is fine.
I just felt like not less unbalanced, more difficult to create for, I guess, at the higher levels.
I suppose. Once you get past 15, though, it just becomes too much. Everything's just a big slugfest of HP. That's the main issue.
Okay.
And Pathfinder has this problem, too.
Oh, Pathfinder. I guess every system has this problem with high level.
Every system has this issue, because you still need to challenge your players despite their high level.
So they're kind of a Viking-inspired world. They're telling an epic tale across 4 acts. They say 12 chapters. They've got event tracking, very epic backgrounds, and some 25 Norse-inspired creatures, and a bunch of NPCs and monster stat blocks too. You know, it's a book filled with stuff. That's a campaign guide, and then the player's guide just, I guess, gives you more introductions, some race and class archetypes, things like that, backgrounds, spells, weapons, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, you know, if you want like a 5e Viking adventure, sure. I'm not against this. It looks kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So, it was nice to kind of just notice this, because it was kind of just, I guess it's sometimes it's hard to notice. Like, I'm glad I checked the new releases on Modiphius' site, because when they do this where they don't publish it, they produce it. Am I saying that right? No.
Yeah.
They're
publishing.
They're publishing it, but not producing it themselves.
Yeah.
That they just kind of release it with a whimper a lot sometimes, and I'm like, oh, they've got some cool stuff that you do that for. Be happy that you're like, helping out people and doing something cool. Just saying. Come on, Modiphius. And then we got one more newsy topic today. I just want to bring up this Mage Noir game. Kind of looks neat. It is a card game. I'm guessing this game was originally 1v1, because on this thing it says now with 2v2.
Probably, yeah.
Which, I gotta be honest, is actually really cool if they've expanded, like, you can do, take a 1v1 game and make it a 2v2 game. That's, as much as I like 2-player games, gotta be honest, there's not as many times to do those games.
Currently, there's a demo for a digital version on Steam.
Ooh. And you can download the rulebook also if you wish.
Tabletop sim.
Nice.
Think they say that here. But
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
Because one of the new expansions or something. So I'm guessing it's this seems to be a I guess a new edition of the original with a bunch of new expansions with it. So they kind of
it's a deck builder.
Yep. So 6 expansions, playmats, languages, all this kind of stuff that they can do to new languages. It looks like the core game is $43 because this is the little C thing is pounds. Am I getting that right? Or am I getting that wrong? Let me see here. What are you converted from?
I assume Euro.
Okay, that's Euro.
That's
Man, I'm so bad
Euro.
with that.
I'm mostly assuming Euro because there's a big French flag and also the French page.
Mm-hmm. If you
yes, it is the Euro.
If you already have the game for $86, you get all 6 expansions. Which I've got to actually say, that's actually not a bad price for 6 expansions, the new ones, and they actually do have a thing for $162 US, the base game and all 9 expansions. So I assume out of the 3 expansions they probably had previously, which is a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of things.
But again, like if you're a real fan of this game or you like the look of it, getting everything, they at least have a kind of a bundle for it.
Yeah.
So it's an option. So yeah. If you're interested, check it out. It seems neat and unique and well designed. So, for deeper discussion, I actually thought of 2 topics earlier today, and they're topics that are a little like unusual because a lot of times they are things that are in your RPG world, which can very well be a backdrop, but they can also be the main focus. And the one I wanted to talk about today is natural disasters. Because it's something that isn't used a lot in an RPG game, but I've used something like a tornado before. Granted, I've used it less as more as an obstacle rather than as a story thing. But certainly, like, there are times when, you know, a hurricane or a tornado, they're very easy to be like, you could have them very big story elements. But I also think it's one of those things that's like, they are a threat, both to you as the group of people, but maybe also to where you're at. So it's like, there's so many layers to using something like this, I think. Have you experimented much with using anything like that?
I have not really. Aside from like storms and such.
Yeah.
But like never anything like disaster level.
Like, 'cause even like a decent storm can be a threat to players and stuff.
Yeah.
But
because my mind immediately goes when I think like big natural disaster. In fantasy, my mind immediately goes to the. I don't know how familiar you are with the Elder Scrolls lore, such like that.
a little bit, so I might.
In Morrowind, there's a big volcano.
Okay.
One of the defining world events between Oblivion and Skyrim is that volcano just exploded.
I remember that at least, yeah.
And it destroyed like half of Morrowind. So that's what I think when I think natural disaster in fantasy world.
I mean, honestly, that is a very good example of something. Like,
not only did that, you don't really see it, but it does progress the world forward.
Yeah.
And then you have to deal with the consequences and fallout of half of a kingdom just exploded.
I think it's one of those things, too, is that, like, if I'm looking at that, let's use that as our example. Like, a volcanic explosion. Because there's so many levels of how it can affect your game. You could do, hey, I'm near the volcano, it's going to go off.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure out what we're doing. Are we just surviving? Are we helping other people? Are we hired on? You could easily have the aftermath, like direct, like, oh hey, we're gonna go try to rescue people. You could have things like what you're saying with Morrowind, in the storyline, indirect too.
Yeah, like with that when Plume, that directly affected the entirety of the continent because refugees, ash storms, political crisis in Morrowind, which is one of the larger provinces of the Empire.
Yeah. It's interesting that it is easy to use it in so many different levels, and I think the thing is, it's so big that's why a lot of us don't like using it, because it's a big story thing.
Yeah. I would use it as instead of just a simple backdrop, as a plot device to move a world forward in a campaign.
And that's certainly a good way of using it, like a big thing like the Morrowind volcano. Granted, like, you could easily use it to drive a story forward. Similarly, maybe like somebody takes advantage of, like, you're in an area, there's an earthquake or there's a tsunami or something, and an invading army takes advantage of that afterwards or something, while you're rebuilding. There are ways you can use a natural disaster that affect your story.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like, I think the tough part is using it either as a threat or as a story point. I think those are the hard parts, and that's why, like, they aren't used a lot. Because I gotta be honest, going by Pathfinder rules for a tornado, it is awful.
Yeah.
It just murders characters,
Mm-hmm.
If you're using it kind of directly. Granted, like, I've looked into that because I've played a couple of high-level campaigns, and all the create weather, if you're in an area that already has a storm, I could make a tornado. I could drop a tornado on my enemies, or on an area I'm going to invade or something like that. Something like that. That's something you can cause if you're powerful enough, because you can ramp up weather a certain degree. So you just wait. It's like, oh, hey, this town that's or this city that's like run by our enemies, or this fortress. Let's wait till it's stormy out, and then I can, create, rather than fighting like a whole big group of people and maybe like their powerful general that would match us in battle, let's just drop a tornado on them and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's silly, but you could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the extreme end, that you can cause a natural disaster.
Yeah, which is very rare in games.
Yeah.
Unless you're like mega high level or have a powerful artifact.
Yeah. It can happen sometimes, but it's rare. Like, lesser storms, certainly I think that you could, like, throw on people to be like, oh, you should take shelter, or, traveling might be big. Talk like, I don't know if it was you. Someone had a game, I think we talked about it at one point in time, where there was like a snowstorm, which, like...
Lightning did a blizzard in one of his current games.
Yeah, which said it that you didn't want to travel.
Yeah, we couldn't travel out of our area, so we had to stay and investigate this area instead.
Yeah.
For shelter.
It's... A blizzard is lesser, but still there as a natural disaster, and it still drove your team to stay in an area where, like, granted, there was still threat of the blizzard.
Yep.
Traveling outside, difficult. Even if you're in, like, a city where they, like, dig out a lot of stuff and things. You did a drought in one shot. I think that's right. I forgot about that. That's another one that can be pretty good.
In the current game I run, it's in the Arctic, so weather and blizzards are a constant thing the party just deals with.
Yeah. I think it's the thing that we talk natural disaster here, and certainly like something like a volcano is like the extreme top end.
Yeah,
I think is what you kind of say. Like,
definitely, yeah.
That's like
not only is that a disaster, that also changes geography and shit.
Yeah, and as you go down there are disasters. You know, like certainly you could use an earthquake in an interesting way, tsunami, you know, things like that. A hurricane. That's like the one that I feel like is in between there that you can kind of still use a little bit more than a tornado, you know, because certainly it's threatening, but like it's a little easier to shelter from that one than, let's say, like a tornado.
Yeah.
But I think it's the thing that, like, it's one of the things that I always, like, I've used in small amounts, but, like, the more I think about it, I'm like, there is so many interesting ways to use these that, like, I guess, again, I think all of us, we are beholden to, like, worried about, like, the after effects, you know?
Yeah.
It's the challenge that prevents a lot of us from doing it. But I think we should be...
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier to do this stuff when you have your own setting.
Yeah.
Because when I was running in Lightning Dice shared setting for a while, I didn't want to do anything big, like geography world changing, because it's a shared set, right? I would get Lightning's approval for making any major changes like that.
Yeah.
My own setting, I am free to blow up whatever the hell I want.
I think the thing is, weather tends to be... I agree with Lightning that the weather is going to be like 95% of the time a hindrance to the players.
Yep.
But I feel like we should treat the weather like we treat a trap, honestly. Or like, you know, it is an environmental effect. And we talk about environmental effects, but we usually talk about more subtle ones, like, oh, there's a cliff here, or there's some trees or bushes someone could take, like, hide in, or something like that. That's also an environmental effect, but that's one that's a little bit more obvious, especially like if you give them a simple map. There's a tree on the map. Okay, I could hide behind the tree and take cover and shoot arrows out from it, you know, so I could support our big fighter or something like that, you know? Or, you know, the very land we're on makes the environment, and we just a lot of times just ignore the weather when it can alter that in various interesting ways. And it can also be a hindrance to both sides. It doesn't have to just be a hindrance to the players. You have to be... I think it's the same thing we talk about with a lot of... When we talked about, like, the environment of the battle, be smart about what you're doing with that you're not unbalancing things. I think that's what we kind of talked about. I feel like there's interesting stories to tell that aren't told because people don't take the challenge. You know, like the disaster movie type adventure could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think I've ever gone for that because, like, it is out there in comparison to, like, your traditional I explore a dungeon adventure or go after an evil wizard or something. It's very different.
Like, I will say this, in Fallout 220, there are hard set rules for using natural disasters, like things like radiation storms and sandstorms. So there are systems with these things baked into them.
Yeah. And I think it's like I can say the same for again, like I'll use it because I know I've learned them from looking through them, and I have used some of them before. Pathfinder and storms and stuff like that. Or I can quote in a game one of our most memorable moments from a game that was based on an environmental factor and weather. I was in a game where we were in the Arctic, and we entered an area that was like cursed land. The snow was poisonous. When you're walking on the snow, not so much trouble. It was like blood snow. A snowstorm happened. we had to discuss how to survive. And there did get into a discussion of Joe as our artificer, our Pathfinder artificer, crafting a bucket for us to crap in. There was an entire discussion on a poop bucket and how to remove waste from our thing, which was hilarious. But it's sort of like, it's one of those really weird game moments where you have a really fun time with it and you remember it. And it's really silly, of course. And, is that what the tone you're trying to take? It wasn't a distraction tone, but it's weird. And that was a thing that happened because we had an environmental effect. But the fact is that we had to think and plan and figure out how to survive versus the weather was interesting, regardless of the crap bucket thing, And I think that's a thing that can be important about it, is it can add to storytelling moments for overcoming an obstacle, like overcoming a trap, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even you don't. One of the most common things you're in a say a area that has your games are in an area that has a lot of forest and stuff, just a forest fire.
Yeah.
Right, that's disaster, and that's small enough for you to easily do something with without having to make major changes.
Yeah. And that's certainly one that's it's a major change in that area, but only in that area, and there are forest fires. The trees will grow back. But your players might have to deal with trying to figure out a way to avoid the fire and avoid the problems that are there. And that can be an interesting dynamic. And, I'm not saying we talked about it. You can use a volcano. You don't need to.
No.
You can use something like the forest fire that's much smaller. Granted,
even a flood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. A flood. And, it can be, you can be there during the rains. And the thing is, you can have it, you could have the epic super flood of, 27 or something. Or you could just have it local flooding that's causing some issues. Man, this bridge is, the water went over this bridge a little bit. How are we going to get across this river? The flood's affecting you. The rain, a big old storm, you have to maybe deal with there's some lightning around, which again, that's probably not a major one, but you could be there's thundering and lightning and there's a bunch of lightning strikes in the area. Maybe you don't want to be out in the open and fields and stuff. That might be dangerous, that could drive your characters to be well, we're going to do this to try to avoid it and cross the field, or we're going to go through this forest, and then you can, have different sets of adventures and stuff. Why am I there? Thanks, Lightning. And it's there are... You can hit people over the head with it, you can be subtle with it. I don't think that really... I think it depends on the game you want to play, and the thing is, go ahead and use it. I think that's an encouragement to use... weather that's natural disaster level. And the thing is, natural disaster, again, that's so many different levels. A severe thunderstorm can cause a lot of bad effects.
Yep.
Thunder can cause, here, there's the forest fire. Or there's some flooding that can be dangerous. Or this and that. Or, traveling during it, some high winds that can blow some stuff down. There might be, maybe not tornado, but, hey, some branches or shingles are flying all over the place. It might thwack you, and that might be a really terrible idea to be, hanging around there. I think just... We all settle a lot of times on it's either just a clear night or a clear day. It's easy.
Yeah.
But... I feel like using this stuff right adds to it, I think just weather in general, too, but I feel like threatening weather and making it an actual part of the environment, just as we said, the trees around you, some kind of challenge, that could be fun. I think that's where I'm at with it. I don't know much else to say here with this one. Yeah, there's plenty of good ideas, times to use it, and it can add to the story. Just, think about it. Anyway, we're going to talk about what our insanity of this week was.
Yeah, we had the week probably.
Did you do anything Sunday based or Sunday stuff?
Sunday, we did do some Sunday stuff. Sunday is the kind of the magical earth type setting we have going on. More or less, we basically signed a bunch of paperwork to be like, hey, we're not actually like dead anymore, because we got Shadowrun where we died and came back as fantasy people. So basically, like the Shadowrun, not exact because I kind of know what's going on because I made some things, but yeah, we're dealing with the fact that we're alive again currently, and now we're dealing with real world stuff like having to find places to stay and eat food. And we got a job to go deal with a spooky graveyard that's probably full of ghosts or zombies. And our artificer still is not a magical fantasy man. He's still just a normal dude. And we're not sure why he hasn't become a fantasy man yet. But I'm sure he'll get his powers eventually, you know?
He'll become a real boy someday.
One day. He'll become a character instead of a dude with 5 HP. Nope, he's got 5 HP.
I find that very silly. He's got 5 HP. That feels like an issue. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna horrifically die or something and then come back. I don't know. He's Canadian. It's a very chaotic game, but it's a very fun game.
I mean, that's good. As long as it's fun, that's good.
It's the fun chaos.
Yeah.
Kind I need.
It's good chaos, I guess you could call it. Yeah. I accept good chaos. It's the best kind to get. Did you do anything on Monday?
Nah, Monday I didn't do anything.
I did a spacey game on Monday. Where we explored more of a ship and fought more horrible alien monsters, and we ended up in the look, it's like a 2,000-year-old septic system.
Nice.
So it's like we were like, is there going to be refuse here? And I'm like, it's gonna be 2,000. It's like thousands of years old. It's been out in space and also in low atmosphere. Like the atmosphere in this place isn't great. We have to like use the oxygen systems, I think we're fine. It might have been preserved, but it also is probably not very well preserved.
True.
But we fought some things. We kind of, because we're kind of like, our main path has been blocked, so we're trying to go down a few decks and then kind of around and back up where we were supposed to go to get our items. So maybe we'll get it next week. I don't know. I will have to explore some more. Maybe shoot some more weird monsters, especially the ones that they quite literally vomit their guts out to fight you.
Nice.
And then their guts crawl back to them because they're technically like a sort of extra creature, but not. So they're very gross.
Nice. Hell yeah, body horrors, great.
Yeah, they're weird body horror alien monsters.
Oh yeah, let's go. It's Dead Space.
Yeah. It's if Dead Space like took over like small rodents and dogs, except
they do that in the third game, kind of, because they replaced one of the enemies with dogs.
Of course they do. Anyway, how about Tuesday? Did you do
Tuesday? Was my space game that I'm in. Basically, we're dealing with a lot of the aftermath of effectively a galaxy-wide nuke going off. because some evil man pressed a couple of buttons, and now a pulse wave of psionic energy is rippling through the galaxy, awakening literally everyone as a psychic.
Ha!
Which is pretty bad, I assume. A lot of planets are probably on fire.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it.
I can think of 2 planets that are very fucked right now, just in the sector we're in, because both of them were in the middle of a civil war. So that's probably gotten a lot worse now that both sides are super powerful psychics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Currently in that session, though, my character is scrambling to stop my people in my faction from blowing the hell out of Cell's homeworld, because that's where the nuke went off.
Wonderful.
The big invading spaceship crashed horribly, and I and the rest of the party went in to try and calm it. We ended up having to murder pretty horrifically a bunch, like 4 dudes, one of them being like the High Inquisitor of the sector. And I get to now deal with calming my people's own civil war.
Wow.
Because our religion has fractured horribly because of this.
I'm sure this is seems like a lot of insanity.
The galaxy is literally on fire right now, but Lightning character's okay with it because they wanted this.
Done good. Done good.
Yeah. I think Lightning's character's goal was literally to cause this. Or to at least allow it to happen or something. Which is certainly something. It's also the first time we were using the new system, and man, I'll tell you, Star Wars 5e is cool. Damn, Sentinel's a little complicated. The one you played.
Oh god, yeah. Oh my god.
The one that's like oops all bonus actions.
It's so hard to balance because you've got a bajillion bonus actions and
yeah. I'm playing a subclass that's less complicated than what you played, but it's still so much action economy to have to consider.
Because the thing is, like,
it's like you've got like 3 or 4 different bonus actions. You've got 4 different types of reactions you can take. Spells.
The problem was like, as complex as my like subclass was, it wasn't that. Most of my stuff didn't actually come from that.
No,
it was just being a sentinel.
Yeah.
I forgot how.
It's a cool class, but it's a bit
figuring it out.
To get used to, getting used to it.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some fun reveals about my character on next session. So.
Yeah. Well, we had Wednesday.
We did have Wednesday, and oh boy, I regret my decisions.
Going and fighting.
I regret helping with that.
You're cool, just.
Yeah, man. He's a man. He's way too violent.
He really doesn't like his father.
Nope. Don't know what his dad did to him. Apparently something bad.
Mm-hmm. I guess he's taking... Like, I always assumed it was bad, but I didn't assume it would be that kind of bad.
Yeah, I didn't assume if you want to just horrifically murder this dude bad, you know? But, you know, hey. I did my part. I don't have to do any more, you know? It's all on Revia now. Revia can deal with it.
Revia can deal with this.
Yeah.
Look, I have, you know, there's some interesting things that have happened. You know, you went to a black market auction. Well, first you went to a geisha school, and then talked to some rich people, which led to a black market auction, which finally led to you finding a bunch of dragons.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what happened.
A bunch of dragons, which for whatever reason are getting a law. Well, you don't actually know what types they are right now, but certainly they seem like an odd bunch that are there.
I don't want anything to do with them. This is Yakul's stuff, not mine. So I'm out. I'm leaving the boat at the start of next session.
You're just gonna be like, I'm gonna go to boat.
Yeah, help you find them. Good job.
You figure it out. It's like, gone. You figure it out. You guys worry about it later.
Look,
I'm out of here.
And as soon as that lady started talking about just fucking to see what happens, I'm out.
Look, it's science.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm not into big lizards.
Don't worry, I won't be a big lizard at the time.
It's Revia's department, since Revia has like 30 girlfriends and boyfriends. And Jacob, I guess.
Jacob just I don't know about Jacob. Jacob is a nice boy that, like, they I feel like all the women in his life are like, oh, you're fun. We'll just have some fun for a little bit.
Yeah.
He has nobody in it for the serious relationship.
No.
How about Thursday? How'd Thursday?
I ran my game on Thursday. Jay's character got introduced. He's a druid man. He's a bit dumb. He's a bit himbo.
Okay.
Always good, you need one of those in the party.
Of course.
He's a druid, moon druid, so he does all the wild shaping fun stuff. They went and found a caravan, met some dark elves. Cell decided to talk to them, because it's Cell. Cell wants to talk to everyone for some reason, despite it being very clear that these people are horrifically evil people. And basically it's like, oh, well, we killed all these people because humans blew up our cities 100 years ago, so fuck you. Because spoilers, well, it's been several generations for humans. Elves definitely still remember the time humans did a genocide on them.
Yeah, makes sense.
A lot of war crimes that happened, and elves live 1,000 years, so they're not going to forget.
Yes, never forget the war crimes.
Yeah, it's been a single elf generation since then, if that. Humans have had like 4. They've forgotten, elves haven't.
Yeah.
They killed those guys pretty easily. Like, it wasn't a super hard combat. And then they went to find more tech artifacts. And stumbled upon Flesh Cave number 3.
Great, more Flesh Cave.
The third one. This one is even more horrific because it's very much a flesh biome instead of just a cave.
Oh, wonderful.
It's a whole different ecosystem.
Biome.
They're down there because they want to put the AI they found into a body, which honestly, fair. Fair enough. It'll be helpful, definitely. And probably not, honestly, a bad idea, because it's a chaotic good AI, so...
Okay.
So it's not, like, evil or anything.
Yeah, that makes sense then, if you want to...
Then they met a recurring character who's been there dealing with all of the future tech stuff, and they're going to work together to explore this horrible flesh spaceship.
Wonderful!
It's going to be like 3 sessions of that, because it's a big side quest. I feel a little bad, because it's Jay's first session. He's being thrust into an ongoing side quest with no context.
That involves Flesh Cave.
That involves Flesh Cave.
Look, I get that feeling. It was 3 minutes into me showing up for a game.
And then it was Flesh Cave.
And then it was Flesh Cave. I'm like...
Yeah, as Lightning says, the AI needs a body so Lightning can date her.
I can't get... It was just like, hey, you joined our team. I'm, okay, here we go, Flesh Cave. Okay.
It's a little in over your head, you know?
It's like, why have you recruited me with Flesh Cave?
It's gonna be full of, like, Dead Space monsters, too. Because they've already been in one of these, and that was what it was full of.
I mean, it is the thing that's in right now because of a certain game that,
yep.
It's good and came out.
Full-ass remake, dude.
A full-ass remake that's, like, actually a really good remake.
It's really good, and it's not Callisto Protocol, so you know.
Did you do anything on Friday?
Friday we had our game. We went to town, talked to dudes, went to house, learned location of other dude, and end of session. That's basically nothing really happened that session because we were down a person, so I didn't want to go into the what I guess is the end stretch.
Okay.
Maybe I don't actually know what's happening in that game. I'll be honest. It's like we kind of have a time limit in plot, but it's not been important for like the last 10 sessions. So it's very much I don't know what's happening.
Gotcha.
A little confusing. We also have missed a lot of sessions of this game because of school, illness, and such.
All right.
I think we missed like a month at one point because Cells had like finals and then got COVID.
That's understandable. This has been look. January's been crazy.
It's been not a great time.
Mm-hmm. Let's February so far, mediocre. I'm fine with that.
Okay for my February. Like it's just been kind of boring.
I'm okay with boring.
After the car crash and then subsequent issues in January, I'm good. I'll take boring.
Yeah, I just as I said to you earlier, I like just a little bit more like normal life.
Normal boringness.
I just would like more boringness and that. No, freaking companies trying to cause doom and gloom in my universe, or like, plague and death and all that kind of stuff that has just been January.
My December and January were car crash, week later COVID.
Oof.
Because I had to spend time in an emergency room. That's probably where I got it.
Makes sense. Look, I'm just happy to be mostly done with sickness. Like, I think it was just a cold, but I got it really bad. So
yeah, colds are not fun.
Sometimes you get a really bad cold.
Yep, that's how it be.
The rest of my family, not nearly as bad. So, I think that's where we're kind of leave it today. I don't think there's anything else for today.
Not really.
I don't think so. It was a fine, quietish week, which is honestly pretty good. Just something a little quieter, an interesting concept to chat about for a little bit, that kind of stuff. Schedule? Maybe I will... Monday's off for now. But maybe I will squeeze something in around the area, depending on Sunday, Tuesday. I have to figure out what I want to do. There were some things I kind of haven't just worked on, honestly, because I just had to throw some time during the week to it, that kind of stuff. We'll figure it out. Wednesday should be back to normal schedule at the very least. If I get anything else in, I'll let people know. Stream morning, Buccaneers evening, Friday back to Saturday, etc., etc., etc. So, thank you, Momo, for joining me today.
Hey.
Everybody out there, thank you for popping in and hanging out. It was fun chatting about some stuff. Again, pretty lazy week, honestly, but hey. Sometimes they're nice to have a week that's a little quiet, just some interesting things coming out and around, and just a little bit of chatting about some stuff. Hopefully, join us for Buccaneers, I guess, next. Big thing. Probably, right? Am I forgetting anything? No, probably not. I don't know. If I am, I'll remember at some point in time, honestly. Check out all the links and stuff, and everybody out there, I guess have a good rest of your Saturday. I hope it ends up a fine one, and see you later. Bye. I can't think of anything else to say. Bye.